This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the Motor City Sports Rant is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming to you very soon. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Find new places to watch the game and save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be, from 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown to a free round of drinks if the quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will update when your teams or players record a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deals are met, coupons are sent to your device to show to your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play very soon. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io and follow them on Twitter and Instagram at ScoreDeals. Score. Watch games. Score deals.
Detroit is the greatest! Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Back to Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone. Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. And with me again, celebrating, is John, the Doc, Macaroon. What up?
My homeboy Jason up in here.
Yes, sir. This will probably be the happiest you'll see and hear the Doc in every podcast recording that you'll ever hear on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. What a weekend it was for us Sparty supporters. Unbelievable contest. It was a monsoon. It was a situation where weather definitely played a part in the contest. The scoring that happened in the first half was basically all it took for Michigan State to win the game. But Jason, go green, baby. It was unbelievable. We took it down 8-2 in the last 10 meetings. Michigan State versus Michigan. 8 times in the last 10 years, Michigan State has come out ahead. It's a great time to be a Spartan supporter. No doubt about it, baby. Go green.
Yeah, and I'd say go white. Anybody outside of a Spartan fan had to watch that game and were just like, oh my God, it's just back and forth punting. I mean, it was cool that it was a poor weather game and you get to see them, out there just in the rain pouring on them. But for me, yeah, watching O'Korn throw all those interceptions and all the fumbles, and it was glorious. I love watching Michigan lose. I love seeing sad Michigan fans. And I don't know about you. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I figured that I was going to stay at home for the game. But the wife last minute suggested that we go out. Maybe we go out to dinner. We can watch a little bit of the game after we put the kid down. So we put the kid down, and we didn't go anywhere crazy. And I'll probably get heat from it. But we went to Applebee's. And I went to Applebee's because it got the $1 margaritas. Can I get some ad money for that? So we get there, it's packed. We get there right in time for game, and it was a good atmosphere. And there's that one drunk Michigan lady fan who she was just every single play. She's like, oh yeah, yeah, and like every time anything went against, she's like, oh come on, and it was so good. And right towards the end of the half, like I tried to needle as much as I could, and my wife didn't like me, turning around. She thought I was actually talking to her. I wasn't. I was trying to just provoke her into just being a little bit more crazy. She I think she's one of those fans where she's just a fan because it's Michigan and it's something to do and it's something to go out and drink and do. But she's like, after he got sacked, why didn't he pass the ball sooner? And I think after another sack, I'm like, why didn't he throw the ball earlier? Why did he throw it to the other person? I don't get it. But it was fun. We got back home to finish up the second half, and it was a little tense there at the end, but they pulled it out.
Man, Jason, I'm so thankful you answered the direct messages because my other phone, obviously everybody knows I have 6 phones, but one of the phones was not working properly. So I was direct messaging you on Twitter, and because I'm a nervous fan, I was so into it. I was really I was on my hands and knees praying because I was so excited because I really felt like after that first half of football, when Michigan State basically looked like they really wanted the contest, they were out hitting Michigan, they were out rushing them. They looked like, on both sides of the ball, on the offensive line and the defensive line, it just looked like, and it appeared that Michigan State wanted it more. And they made bigger plays in the first half. And then the rains came. By that point, you saw Michigan make a drive, and you said to yourself, oh boy, here it is. Here's the situation where Michigan State makes mistakes, and it might hurt them. And everybody that supports Michigan State realizes that in a contest, when you watch them play, they're going to make some really ridiculous plays and make some choices that you go, why are you doing that? And when they do stuff like that, I just freak out and pace, and I look like a crazy person watching the contest. So thank you for responding to the text messages and being pragmatic, because you said it right through our dialogue that, look, it's going to be the defense that's going to have to step up for Michigan State to win the game, and eventually they held on. But, to start this off, I want to get your sense of, was it more Michigan State effectively running their plays and outworking Michigan, or was it Michigan making a ton of mistakes and Jim Harbaugh with the pedals off the rose, making some ridiculous play calls in the second half by having John O'Korn throw the football? Was it more about Michigan's mistakes, or was it Michigan State stepping up in this contest? What's the bigger narrative to you? Because it's being talked about on both sides. Michigan State did a lot of good things in the football game.
It's very hard to overcome 5 turnovers. It's really hard to say that this is all because of Michigan State. Michigan State helped cause those turnovers, though. I mean, some of them on those passes they looked like bad passes, and I have no idea why O'Korn would have thrown them.
Especially after you saw the running backs having success for Michigan. They started in the second half right when the weather died down a little bit to start to have some effective runs. Yet they go to the pass in key situations. Unbelievable choices.
What I will say is that Michigan State had a game plan going in. They knew what to do, and they executed on all levels. I do think that they probably didn't execute as well as they hoped they would on offense, clearly, only scoring 14 points. And, some of those, I think at least one of those touchdowns was a gift from Michigan. They came in their defense, they took care of business. They had a quarterback who, there's a lot of hype that, he was going to be the savior of Michigan. And I think now Michigan fans are probably going to be leaning back towards oh man, Wilton Spade is going to be out for almost the rest of the season.
Well, there was a fan base that was told to pump the brakes on quarterback John O'Korn, and that's our fan base. You want to know why? Because on the last Doc and Jock podcast, I said, and I should have queued it up for us for this week's show, but on Doc and Jock, every single thing I said, every positive clip will be aired, because my goal, and you'll be the first to know, is going to be to get Adam to come over this desk and try to hit me, because it's going to be amazing content. But
can we live stream that?
I might try. I might put the camera.
See how red Adam's face gets.
Okay, we'll see. It might be the final Doc and Jock this week, because on last week's show I said,
you're
look,
just going to be the biggest asshole to him.
Oh my God.
On Thursday.
I'm going to tell you what I did after the contest was over. But on last week's show I said that I had a feeling that John O'Korn was going to throw the ball to Michigan State quite a bit. And that, because I don't understand, I get, and Adam is a realist. He is not one of those Michigan fans that just wants to blow Michigan all day 24/7. Because of the fact that, you and I are Michigan State supporters. We watch games, but you got to remember one factor in terms of what makes a podcast successful, what makes a counselor successful, what makes a person in their late 40s or 50s a more marketable employee. What is that word? The word is experience. John O'Korn had not been in this kind of situation before in terms of the magnitude of a contest. And I think, people will say, well, how do you say these things? And why don't you get on the Michigan bandwagon? Well, one, I hate Michigan in any situation I can. My personal Twitter account will only be shown on the Detroit Podcast Twitter account once a year, and that's during the Michigan State-Michigan game. Otherwise, you can't get a hold of me. I'll never tweet from that account. But I hate Michigan in the sense of just watching any sporting event or watching anything in life. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out, look, this is Michigan versus Michigan State. And so everybody that was a Michigan slappy, just assumed that because John O'Korn threw for 5 touchdowns on the road versus Purdue, that in a huge rivalry game versus Michigan State, he's just going to show up and that offense is going to purr like a kitten. An average podcaster like myself said, whoa, pump the freaking brakes. There's a chance if Michigan State's defense can see some trends or do some things, they can get some turnovers. Not 4 of them, not all those interceptions. I didn't say that. That would have been bold. But I had a feeling, and I said it's on tape, that Michigan could turn the ball over, and thank goodness they did, baby, because when the contest was over and Michigan State, despite trying to give the game to Michigan, giving them opportunities late in the contest, Michigan State walked away with the Paul Bunyan Trophy, well-deserved. And we got to bring up a point, though. I find it ironic that Michigan slappies that are in the broadcast media, they feel freely to go on the air and say stupid things like Desmond Howard said on the air at ESPN. He comes out and says that, well, Michigan State's not really Michigan's true rival because they're not a national brand. When you say stuff like that, and then you start putting up the track record in just the last decade, if you want to extend it out a little bit, you definitely sound biased and you sound stupid. On our podcast, we were fair and objective and said, look, Michigan has a chance to do some things if they execute properly. They just did it in that contest, but it would behoove Michigan supporters to stop with the arrogance because you look stupid. And
you're never going to stop with the arrogance, though.
No, but then
because they're Michigan.
Now the point I got to ask you is now you got a guy like me who sees all that and then says, yeah, you know what? You want to be arrogant? I'm just going to start, retweeting posts about, some of the Michigan supporters now hating on Harbaugh. I'm going to start posting, tweets from Kelly Rowe with the big block M that says mediocre. I'm going to start posting pictures of, banners that say, little brother kicked your ass yet again. So it would be to Michigan's advantage if their supporters kind of reined it in a little bit, recognize that, hey, Michigan State's here. They're for real. They had a 3-9 season. Yes, they own it. But it would behoove them now to start showing a little bit more respect to Michigan State because our coach owns you. You're getting embarrassed versus national opponents. And now the best part of this, Jason, is Michigan's fan base is kind of splintering a little bit. Half of the fans are not concerned. It's still early. But a large vocal majority now that's messaging us, that's messaging message boards, calling into sports radio, a lot of supporters are going, whoa, we were sold the bill of goods here potentially because of the fact Jim Harbaugh's making $9 million to lose to Michigan State. Oh, hell no. So I think Michigan has to respect State a lot more.
Yeah, a smart fan would own up to it. And I do have Michigan fans, friends of mine, who they acknowledge what Michigan State has done. They're not going to root for them when we play, but they at least know what we are and what we can do.
But why didn't they see about John O'Korn? Why did they assume? I mean, I know
I don't think it's about John O'Korn. I think this is moving forward, everything from the past and into the future. I think a lot of Michigan fans are never going to view Michigan State as their rival, as good enough that they're always going to look down. And that's what makes this rivalry so sweet for Michigan State because especially now, as you like you said, last 10 years, 8-2. That's all we got to do. Facts are mean. That you just point to the scoreboard and you go 8-2. And probably one of those games was that stupid 12-10 game.
Yeah.
That could have easily gone either way.
And Jason, you know what makes it so much sweeter? Is that when you go to the big house, 100,000 people, all in yellow, maize and blue, having a good old time, an all-day tailgate. I mean, Vito was there rocking it, having a good time. All the Michigan supporters just thinking it was going to be a fun contest to go up into the big house and to take away the Paul Bunyan Trophy, to have gifts where a Michigan player chokes, drops the football, and you got a State guy behind him giving him the choke sign in one of the all-time great GIFs of all time. And to see everybody all devastated, did you see the GIF that ESPN put up after the first half? It was a lovely Spartan grad and a not so happy Michigan supporter, and the lovely Spartan grad is just jumping up and down, having a good old time, and the other guy's looking like, oh, it was so sad.
It was happening again.
It was happening again. It makes it for me way better to go to the big house and win. Way, way better. The last 2 times they've gone have probably been the 2 biggest wins at the big house, and they have been so awesome.
Now, what I will say is I think both of these teams have their issues. Michigan State, their offense at times just sputters out. 14 points isn't going to win a lot of games, especially with the people who we got coming up. I do think Michigan State has a slightly easier schedule the rest of the way, and I wouldn't say they're going to win the Big Ten, but I think they're going to finish out the season strong.
Maybe have maybe 8 to 9 wins this year.
8 to 9 wins. And I think conversely, I think Michigan, it looks downhill. I think, their defense is still pretty solid. Penn State, Ohio State, and I would they play Wisconsin too.
Exactly.
Those are all top 10 teams at this point.
And here's what makes it fascinating is that people are pinpointing what the hell's up with the offense. The offensive line looks to have some holes. The quarterback situation now is a huge problem because it was reported that Wilton Speight is not going to be on the team this year because of an injury. So you got John O'Korn, and I want to ask you because I think it's a fair question because Michigan supporters are, the ones that will come on and say, look, this is Michigan. Our trajectory is championship.
Michigan, damn it.
This is Michigan, the team, baby. But the trajectory is championship, right? Some of the supporters, including, one of the hosts of a podcast that we air here, the Michigan podcast, our guy Steve, has said, look, you know what? You lost to Michigan State. The odds of Michigan getting to the national playoff are low. Let's just scrap it. Let's just let O'Korn sit. Let's bring on Brandon Peters, and let's see what he's able to do. Bring on Peters and let him learn now. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Because of the fact that I think Steve is right in that Michigan is not going to play for a championship this year, is not going to play for the biggest prize. So why not start officially the next season while you still have some pieces in place because most of the team is young? I could co-sign with what Steve's saying, but I had messaged him and said, kind of back off because it's just one game. The weather was a factor. I might want to see O'Korn one more time versus a Penn State and see if he can replicate what Speight was able to do. But I feel like it's a fascinating discussion because should Michigan tank and start an inexperienced quarterback and just let him ride out mistakes?
If it was you or I think I would probably do that. If I was the coach of Michigan at this point, I would look at what's ahead of me. I would look at Penn State. I'd look at Wisconsin. I'd look at Ohio State. I'd even look at Minnesota and Indiana because at this point, I'd say Michigan has at least 2 and up to 4 or 5 more losses on their schedule right now.
Ooh.
So I don't think it's going to be as bad as that, but Penn State, Ohio State, I would probably put those as big losses already. So yes, for me, I would kick the cans on whatever we got. I would kick the cans on Peters. I'd kick the cans on a McCaffrey kid. But I think college football, it's more than just, hey, we got a bunch of guys on the bench. Let's throw them in and see what happens. A whole lot of the scholarships and red shirts come into play when you're talking about just seeing what guys can do. And I think that's what's gonna really dictate if Michigan is gonna have a change at heart at quarterback. What is Brandon Peters' eligibility? Do they want to just have him wait and then get another year of eligibility from him? I'm not sure if his red shirt is up. I'm not sure if you have that information. But at this point, if another loss means their season is over. I know Michigan State got the taste that we got to the college football playoff. And at this point, every season, if we don't go to the college football playoff, it is a failure. We can have good seasons. Like if we do finish the season 9-3, 8-4, it's a pretty decent season. We beat Michigan. We're probably going to win a few more games, but it ultimately is a failure. Not getting to the college football playoff means that you lost.
Okay, so now people are starting to pinpoint and evaluate really what does Jim Harbaugh bring to the table. Is it fair or foul that he's getting criticized for the offense, getting criticized for having a 1-4 record versus his rivals in his first couple seasons? Fair or foul?
It's completely fair. Those are the teams that you were brought in here to beat. These are the teams that Brady Hoke and Rich Rodriguez couldn't beat. And you were supposed to come in here to change the culture of this football team. You are supposed to be the Michigan man. You are Jesus in khakis. You're going to save this school. And in your third year now, 2 of those years you lost to your in-state rival.
At your house!
More than likely, you're going to lose the first 3 years against what you claim is your biggest rival. That is a problem.
it's a good situation to be a Michigan State supporter. But I definitely want to give the Michigan State defense all the credit because you said it. It's going to be on them. It's going to be imperative that they hold Michigan. And yeah, the weather played a part, but Michigan State was doing some great things, obviously forcing turnovers, obviously being very aggressive. And you got to remember, why was John O'Korn looking like a lost individual? You want to know why? He started getting happy feet. You want to know why he was starting to get happy feet? Because Michigan State's defenders were crowding the pocket. Now, maybe a more experienced quarterback like a Spate might have been able to extend plays an extra couple seconds. John O'Korn, with his lack of experience, was getting happy feet. And so when the clock started ticking in his head, he started getting rattled. And that was due in part largely to Michigan State's defense. So yes, Michigan made a lot of mistakes, but part of the equation and all the props have to go to Michigan State's defense for forcing John O'Korn to look like an inept quarterback, which he probably is going to turn out to be. But in essence, I also don't want to discount what Michigan State's defense did. When they set out, they had a goal to get 4 turnovers. Who says that? Who says our goal is to get 4 turnovers off of Michigan? Maybe they listen to the podcast and we're like, you know what? That Doc over there at DSP, him and Jarvie, they're onto something, man. Talking some Michigan State and Doc and Jock every Thursday. I think they're onto something that, John O'Korn's inexperienced. We can pin our heads back and figure out what's happening. And so they did it. Their goal was to get 4 turnovers. They got 5. But part of Harbaugh's problem is once you saw what was going on the field, it made it a nightmare to call passing plays. And I just assumed that, on both sides, in the second half, Michigan State couldn't run the ball, and their play calling was a little bit atrocious on second down because they kept running the ball into the line, getting nothing. But the one area of contention that I just can't stand in football is stupid play. Late in the game for Michigan State, you have the ball, and in essence, you could take 40 seconds off the clock. They, I think it was a second down play. They run the ball to Lewerke on a sneak to the right, and they get a holding penalty, which in essence stops the clock, which gives Michigan the opportunity after the stop on third down to get the ball back. And I was like, no, what are you doing? And I tweeted out, I'm like, why does Michigan State make so many dumb plays? Football in and of itself is a super tough game. We know that. But when you beat yourself in the foot, you shoot yourself multiple times, it's not that hard to go, hut, hike, take a step back, kneel the ball, take a knee. I don't understand. You gave Michigan 40 seconds off the dumbest play that I've ever seen. And then, we'll definitely talk about the flop that everybody saw, including Deadspin. But do you think that you can give Michigan State a pass because of the mistakes, because of their youth? Or do you say to yourself, man, sometimes when you watch Michigan State, they make some ridiculous plays that they don't need to make?
This isn't a Michigan State team that we've seen in the years past. Those teams have had Connor Cooks, Kirk Cousins. They've had leadership all up and down that offense. And this it started last year. Last year they were completely fresh, and you saw what happened, a 3-9 season. And this season it's starting to grow, and I think you still need to give them a little bit of a chance to just mature a little bit more. And I wouldn't be surprised if next season you are talking about a Michigan State team that could compete for a Big Ten title. I'm not going to go as far to say that they can threaten to go into the college football playoff next season, but I am seeing progress, and it makes me happier because it seemed like Michigan State was just going to go back to being irrelevant again. And you see that D'Antonio has been able to slightly start to rebuild this team, and I'm giving them a pass. It was an awful rain game. I think more of the pressure goes onto the other side of the ball with Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, I want to get your sense. So the clock hits 0-0, the Hail Mary fails, and for me, I can tell you what I did. I just started playing some music, having a good old time, and just letting it wash all over me. 8-2, one of the songs that a lot of people like. Let it just sit here for a minute while I talk over it. But I was dancing for about a half hour. I put up some Snapchats at like 1 a.m. smoking a cigar. It was great. So all you Michigan fans can just sit here and listen to a great song as you wallow in another loss. You guys were sold the bill of goods. You were sold Jesus. Like your friend Ryan Armani so eloquently put, this is embarrassing. He had a huge jug of vodka that he put on his Twitter page because he watched that first half, and he said, like everybody else that saw it, he saw it and was like, what the hell is this? And very disappointing. But everybody, hey.
You want to, for this, this is apropos. If we're going to pile on Michigan, you want some stats? Let me give you some stats.
Oh, what a night.
31 games at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, 24-7. He has a 1-1 bowl record, and he's 1-4 against his rivals. Brady Hoke, through 31 games, 24-7 record, 1-1 bowl record, 2-2 versus his rivals.
Where's Michigan? Where'd they go?
I guess somebody's got to call Brady Hoke, and he got a raw deal. He could have been making so much more money. He's making $9 million for this.
Ryan Armani was embarrassed by his program. I would be embarrassed too. I mean, you were $9 million for Jim Harbaugh to not get victories versus his rivals. Shoot, I think he's got a better career at podcasting. I mean, attack each day. Maybe you should attack the films or attack something else because, in essence, the best coach resides in East Lansing. And it's quite obvious because when you look at the trophy cases, I mean, look, at this point in time, I'm willing to cede the media to Michigan. They can have all the attention. They can have all the pub. They can follow Michigan to Italy. They can follow Michigan, when Jim Harbaugh decides to jump off a platform and dive and look ridiculous. Follow that. But when it comes down to what's going on the field, the play speaks for itself, and Michigan's getting dominated, and you guys all should be embarrassed because it's not a rivalry anymore. What happened to the rivalry? Why isn't Michigan living up to their end of the deal? Because we need Michigan to be at least somewhat decent to help us get to the playoffs again, which you guys have never been to and probably aren't going to sniff for a while, in my opinion.
Victory for MSU.
Victory for MSU. 8th time in 10 years. So that's what I did. I celebrated. I had a good old time with the victory cigar. I hope you all that are listening soak it all in because if you want to give it, you're going to have to take it. And, the doc, Jason, all the Michigan State supporters, a lot of them in the media, are going to get a chance to enjoy this victory yet again at the Big House. Makes it all so sweet. Oh, what a night. We held on. We were able to beat Michigan basically at their own game, running the ball and playing solid defense.
That's how every Michigan State game is.
What a segment. I'm going to hold on to that one. I'm going to tape it. I'm going to hold on to it, archive it, and really enjoy that last 30 minutes because, hey, when you get a chance to dominate your rival, it's great. And so maybe Michigan now, you want to know something nefarious that I did?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm a fan of Braylon Edwards because of the fact that, not because of his playing career, I felt like it left a little bit to be desired. But I was a fan of him because of the fact he's working his way up in broadcasting. It's not an easy thing to transition from a professional career to a broadcast career. And he's been on both stations, one of maybe only a couple that have now had their voices heard on 105.1, and then now on 97.1 The Ticket. So he was broadcasting yesterday, 10:15 a.m. I believe, before the Lions game. I have Mr. Braylon Edwards' phone number. I will show you during the commercial break here. I lobbed him a nice juicy text message. It got read on the air. It said, somebody at Michigan State supporter is obviously lobbing bombs here at Braylon Edwards. And that individual was the DOC. Because I have Mr. Braylon Edwards' phone number, I'm going to share a quick story. Tried to book him as a guest. He was like, sure, I'll come by, no problem. Like a lot of people do. Great, I love your network, da-da-da-da, where are you guys at? Up 696, no problem. Secured his phone number, messaged him. This is last year. Okay, comes down to it, start shooting him some messages, ghosted me. I said, okay. Now, first thought was like, okay, I could be a dickhead, like I can be at times.
Yes.
But I'm okay. I'm an okay guy. But
you're a dick.
But I was like, okay, my first thought was I'm just going to start, maybe I'll post his number and just tell Michigan State supporters like, contact this guy. Maybe just say, not give his name, just contact this phone number. But I said, okay, no, I want to be a little more professional, have a little bit more class. So I said to myself, what's an opportunity to maybe get back at Mr. Braylon Edwards for ghosting me? So I lobbed him a nice text message, and I know he saw it. And I know when he saw it, that little feeling came over him like, because it was a good one. And for all you Michigan supporters, I hope that you find it in your heart to continue to message us and have fun with this rivalry and keep it where it's at. I love the vitriol. I love going back and forth with Michigan supporters. We got a lot of them. Look, all you got to say is I'm a State guy and I air a Michigan podcast because I know you guys bring something good to the table. I like the way you guys bring it, but then it makes it more fun when Adam messages me, I love you, but I really hate you because what I did to him, all the this year I didn't tweet him as much because he said he wasn't going to look. I texted him nonstop. I was like, dude, this sucks. What is up with Michigan State? What is up? State's dominating. And he was just like, oh. So I kept it a little bit more cordial, but I blew up his phone. So I'll show you the text. I lobbed him a good one, and I know he noticed that the DSP is here and ready to have some fun. Stay with us. Second half, we got to kind of talk about the Lions and their disappointment. A new way for me to experience the game, which I might do in the future. You want to hear how I experienced the game and what might be a better way to enjoy it than maybe just sitting and watching it on television? Stay with us. I'll share it next.
Bringing you mediocre teases. It's the Motor City Sports Rant.
These haters can't hold me back. 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 I look in my fridge. My looking scarce.
Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Lions. Why you got to do that? Why you got to go out on Sunday and just absolutely suck it up?
Oh, man. So for me, I did not watch the game on television. What I did was because Sunday was just absolutely gorgeous, Jason. It was such a beautiful day. I said to myself,
Go out to the cider mill?
No, I just went outside with the kids. I let them play on the grass. I whipped out a couple beers, sat down in a chair, watched them run around, listened to a little bit of the pregame. I listened to the entire game via the radio exclusively. And I said to myself, wow, I'm kind of having a good time with the whole theater of the mind kind of thing. And Dan Miller, Jim Brandstatter provided quality analysis of the game. And I kind of got myself into kind of imagining what was going on and watching the contest and going, ooh, obviously beforehand, people said that the Lions were going to have to score a lot of points. And someone messaged me on Twitter and was asking, what do you think of the game? I felt like the Lions had a decent chance to keep up.
Before you get into that, I would listen to the radio more. I feel it's a shame that it's broadcasted on AM.
Really? I know it's getting a little bit better, but I felt like it was good enough. But yeah, I had messaged Jason.
Just the quality of
it could be better, right?
If I'm listening, I don't want to have to turn my radio all the way up and get a bunch of staticky AM. And
it needs to be better, right? The broadcast needs to be better. Yeah, I can understand that completely because I said the same thing to Adam. I'm like, dude, how's it sound to you? But it does sound like you're listening to a game from like 15 years ago, right?
Right.
It doesn't have that crisp quality. It's not like an HD broadcast.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to hear. I love Dan Miller. Dan Miller is probably my
friend of the podcast. Yeah,
he's my favorite. Play-by-play guy in the Detroit area, and it sucks. I wish it would have been on an FM station.
Yeah.
But
so
carry on.
Yes, I enjoyed listening to the game via 760 AM WJR, but then the mistakes started happening. And a couple notes that I jotted down while listening to the game, having a couple beers, was the first one, obviously, what happened to the offensive line? Obviously, the injury to Taylor Decker is massive, and you say to yourself, well, you still got TJ Lang, you still got Wagner, you still got pieces in place to make the offensive line productive. Ooh, that was not a good performance. And you got your quarterback hurt. So that makes the performance that much worse. The offensive line needs to be embarrassed, and they got to step it up.
I'm wondering if the word is out on the Detroit Lion offense that all you got to do is put pressure on Matt Stafford. You bring 5-6 guys, and you're going to get somebody through, because that's what it's looked like the past couple of weeks. That's what it looked like this week with Carolina. That's what it looked like with Minnesota, that they just kept throwing guys at the line, and eventually somebody would get through. Now, I know that Carolina and Minnesota, they do have a very good pass rush, and some of those guys on there, the Star Latulele and the K'Wan Short, those are some all-pro caliber players, but we got to step it up somehow. And I think that was one of the reasons why the Minnesota game looked...
This is bad.
One of the reasons the Minnesota game looked so boring is because I saw Zach Zenner in there way too often, and I would say that the only reason that he was in there is for pass blocking reasons. And that's why they had, because in that Minnesota game, I didn't understand why Theo Riddick wasn't more involved in that offense. And you saw Riddick more involved this week, but the entire offense, it just seemed stale and they couldn't get it going. I really feel that Ebron drop on that first drive, because they looked like the offense was actually clicking on that first offense. They moved down the field. They looked like they were going to strike first. I mean, they did strike first with a field goal, but they looked like they were going to capitalize, score a touchdown, and set a pace for this game that it could be back and forth. But Ebron clearly dropping that ball, and he can make all the excuses in the world. He can say that Shaq Thompson should have intercepted it, and his hands blinded me. That it went right into your body. You catch the ball. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do this. This is literally your one job. Catch the ball in the touchdown, and you can't do that. I'm done with you, Eric Ebron.
Unbelievable. And then juxtapose that with what we saw on the other side. That's what a tight end looks like. Right, Jason?
Yeah, and it's I would get it if it was Greg Olsen, because Greg Olsen, he's an amazing tight end. He can do that kind of stuff. But it's Ed Dixon. It's their backup.
Ed freaking Dixon looked like the guy that we all wanted here in Detroit. And so
we do have that guy in Detroit, Darren Fells.
Why didn't they not utilize him? What happened? Why was Eric Ebron targeted? Because you're starting to see now. Did you hear the audible boos? They came through the radio. People were not happy that he was targeted. They were not happy that he's dropping the football. And look, it sets the tone, because do you really need your quarterback to slap you on the butt when you make a simple catch? That's what Ebron needs. He needs to be, obviously when Stafford does that, it tells everybody it's a mental thing with Ebron. It's a situation now where it's in his head, and he's trying to overcome that through Twitter and say, look, you guys don't know, and da-da-da. But now the questions are being asked, and at this point in time, I kind of got a sense that, and what all the fans want is, Ebron's going to be gone at the end of the year. They will no way, no how extend his deal. No way. He will not be back next year. He's not good enough. His play is not worthy of being a Detroit Lion, and that's just a simple fact. Whether you say, well, it's a tip pass and da-da-da-da. There were situations where people were watching film. Dude, and that's what makes me confused when athletes say these things, because do you not know that you and I can go on to a website and type up NFL game film and pull it up and rewind and watch the game? There were a couple plays where Ebron missed some blocks. Now, he's a much better blocker than he is a pass-catching tight end, but there were situations where mistakes cost the Lions. The radio stations are saying that
Ebron's a better blocker.
He's a better pass blocker than he is a catch. He can't catch the ball.
Yes, but he was brought in here to be a pass catcher.
Exactly.
Darren Fells was brought in here to be a pass blocker.
Understood.
He gets 2 touchdowns.
But I'm not saying he's an all world blocker, but at the same time, he just can't. He's not effective in the game. And when you're in the red zone and you have an opportunity to go up 7-0 and you settle for a field goal, that sets the tone. It puts the fans in a foul mood. It puts probably the team in a foul mood. It's unfortunate because you had a chance to go 4-1. But do you just chalk it up to this being a bad performance? Because a lot of factors didn't look good. Stafford didn't look his best. The offense didn't look that great. The running game didn't look that great. Who would you even say performed well from this contest? Because all around, it looked like a stinker.
I think to answer that question, I would say Jarrett Davis, coming back from his injury. The dude, he's already... he's only played 3 NFL games, and he is an integral part in this defense. But what I would say, I'm not gonna panic too much about this game, because it's the first game that we really probably should have won the Atlanta game. Mm-hmm. And so this is really the first loss, the bad loss that I'm gonna have to. There's gonna have to be at least one more for me to really start feeling a little concerned in my stomach. But I think the bigger concern right now is that the offense really hasn't performed in the last 4 weeks. And I know it's difficult to blame it on one guy, but Eric Ebron seems to be holding this offense hostage, because Jim Bob Cooter, I'm not sure if he has other plays or other packages that he can put out there, but because we have Eric Ebron on our team and he's supposed to be a big physical weapon for us, that they still call plays where he's part of that, and he's not just a pass blocker. that there's a route for him, and he's the main guy who gets open in these packages. Golden Tate gets covered. Marvin Jones gets covered. That means Eric Ebron's supposed to be the mismatch. And when he keeps dropping balls, it ruins and stifles this offense. We would be much better.
Why?
We'd be much better rolling out with 4 wide receivers. Give me Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, TJ Jones, and Jared Abbrederis. I would much rather be... Are you booing Jared Abbrederis?
No, I'm booing the fact that Eric Ebron is holding the offense hostage. He's pissing you off and pissing everybody off in Detroit.
I would much rather have any other wide receiver on this team right now catching the ball over him. Maybe I put Michael Roberts in the same boat as Eric Ebron right now.
Don't target Eric Ebron. You're putting him in a position right now to fail. So what you got to do is you can't target him in the end zone. What you do is you get him. See, it seems quite easy, in my opinion. You get him involved early with a screen pass. Let him catch an easy ball. Let him work his way into the game because, in situations where he's had success, you can't have games where he has 1 catch for 6 yards. That's an embarrassment. That's horrible for a first-round pick. Obviously, you can't have that. But you got to have situations where you maybe involve him not in the red zone.
I don't want him involved at all in the offense.
But he can make plays. He's got speed. He's a big dude. Jim Bob Cooter can design plays for him to get open.
And that's the problem, is that he has all that, and he has the potential to do it. And then when he makes those gigantic mistakes, it ruins the offense. And we're just supposed to go, he has the intangibles. We kind of have to keep throwing it to him. I don't want him part of this offense, because if we have to keep throwing it to him and he's going to drop 50% of the balls, what are we going to do?
Yeah, and so the other point that you brought up that we got to talk about before we get out of here, one of the key points, like you said, is a concern on the offense. And it was brought up on the radio, and it's been talked about, is it's potentially now a situation where, in the NFL, Jason, obviously we do podcasts and we devote a little bit of time to research and stuff like that. But you got to remember, these, coordinators, when they're not sniffing coke, are in meeting rooms. They are watching film. They are breaking down each and every play call from the better part now of the last 3 seasons. And so quality defensive coordinators are going to recognize your tendencies. And so what's happened is, because of the fact that the Lions are a little bit conservative, they have a certain play set that Jim Bob Cooter now is comfortable using. It's going to be very important for JBC to mix it up a little bit. It's really a situation, and it's one where people are noticing the offense is predictable.
He's going to have to open up the playbook on Sunday.
He's going to have to open it up.
Going up against the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees, he's old as dirt, but he's going to still throw the ball around. But
do you give excuses because Galladay hasn't gotten on the field? His stock is kind of petered out now because of the fact of his injury?
I don't think it's because of Galladay. I think
who's a deep play threat?
Yes, he's a big play threat. But so is Marvin Jones.
Is he really a consistent?
He's supposed to be. That's what we paid him all the money. He was supposed to be a number 1 wide receiver on this team.
I think
I want Kenny Galladay to come back. I do think we have other receivers on this team who can produce, but because we consistently have to throw the ball to Eric Ebron, that they don't get those kinds of shots. You saw what happened when Jared Aberdeen. He's a 4th wide receiver. I don't feel like I need to be talking about the Lions' 4th wide receiver, but I do. And when your number 4 wide receiver is a much better option than your number 1 tight end, that's a huge problem.
So, do you have confidence JBC will fix the problem, that the offense will look a little better in the coming weeks? I'm a little concerned.
I don't know. I've been the guy who's tried to stay positive and said, "Wait, take your time," and just it's the possibility is there. I think there is room to be concerned for this offense, that if they aren't going to change and they aren't going to try and open up the offense at all, then we could just be looking at an average season again.
Ooh, you're concerned that the season could be average again. The offense could be a huge problem, huh? So, Jason, I pride myself in giving quality insights, and for the last couple of weeks, I've been giving pretty good stuff that's been repeated now nationally. If you follow us on Twitter, you recognize, we kind of make observations and things like that. And on our last podcast, Adam and I had a discussion, and it came after me watching the NFL Football Life of Emmitt Smith, and I said, oh my God, if the Lions had Emmitt Smith right now on this team, we could be talking about the Super Bowl. And I said, I think the Lions are one piece away from having a quality football team. And then I'm picking on NFL Network, enjoying the Sunday morning routine. And Michael Robinson, former NFL player, played with Seattle. He's doing great things over there on the network. He comes out and he says, and it's tweeted out by the NFL Network, he says there's one thing the Lions need to be a championship team. And I'll play it for you.
Almost 100. But this is what Matthew Stafford has been needing for so long. He has needed a run game. And if you look at right here, Amir Abdullah provides that. And this is what I love. My man Steve Smith is going to love this. This is the touchdown block. He didn't get a touchdown, but look at the wide receiver come in, get that safety, leave the corner one-on-one, and corners don't want to tackle. Open your eyes. Look at this. Open your eyes, brother. And he don't want to tackle. And then you see Amir Abdullah going down the field and finishes the run physically. And this is what this young shifty back, this is what he's great at. Getting his feet set. He's nothing there where the play is supposed to go. Jump cut, gets back behind it. And then he has to hurry up and get back in the cylinder. Quick in the hole. Great acceleration through that Minnesota Vikings defense. And look at right here. Just totally takes the ball outside. If you go outside on a zone play, you're by yourself. He takes it outside. Gets down the field, explosive play, and this is what else he can do in the passing game. This is essentially a 3-by-1 formation with the running back in the backfield. He beats the linebacker down the football field. Now, I'm not sure, Colleen, if Amir Abdullah is a lead dog, what we say, the old Adrian Petersons, the Marshawn Lynch's, those types of guys.
But somebody else said the same thing. I'm not sure.
It's not just you, Doc.
Amir, I know
I've been saying forever we need a running back.
But I'm getting some pushback saying that, look at the stats, look at the numbers. I'm like, dude, you can see it. How did you evaluate Amir yesterday?
He was completely underwhelming. He had that Minnesota game where he almost broke 100 yards and then got hurt, and he followed up with another dud this week.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And I feel like the clock is on Amir Abdullah now. I feel like it's either he's just going to go into irrelevancy or he's going to get hurt. And which one's going to come first this season?
So you're not confident in Amir at all. You think that others are seeing it as well, and it's a realistic thing to say.
The guy can be a piece. He cannot be a starter in this NFL. And he's a nice change of pace back. I really think him and Theo Riddick are very similar backs. And when you have two of the same thing, you're not going to get it.
So let's put the stench of this contest versus the Panthers behind us. They're 3-2.
And let's look towards the 2018 NFL Draft.
No,
Cue the music.
Very huge contest in all seriousness versus the Saints. A team where, Drew Brees can do some things, but again, you're going to have to score. So I do believe that the Lions have had success in New Orleans the last couple times, and I do believe it'll continue. They'll be 4-2, but this could linger. At the same time, this could easily turn around and be 3-3. So you got to put that stench behind you, get on to the next week. But now, early on in the season, a little bit after the first quarter, you're starting to see the pecking order in the NFC. It goes Atlanta, it goes Green Bay, and it goes Carolina. And then the Lions are right there in the 4, 5, 6 mix. And that's okay for them to be in that spot. But you see now what a team that's proficient on offense looks like. How Cam Newton can proficiently run that offense, how a team with a real running back can handle some things with experience from the secondary players. And Carolina has a team that has some depth too at the running back position. Adam is still shocked that Stewart's still, performing and doing some great things. But Carolina's a team that was in the Super Bowl. They're 4-1 and they're legit. So now you can legitimately compare and see what the Lions need to do. And I think that, obviously, like I said, you got to have a home game in the playoffs, but you better not go on the road and lose to the Saints. You confident?
I think that they're going to go out and I think they're going to perform, and it's not going to look pretty, but I think they get the win. I think the defense they're going to have a bounce back game. It's going to be another ugly game. We're not blowing anybody out. Not until 2018 NFL Draft.
Get that running back?
With the first overall, or not the first overall, but the first round pick for the Detroit Lions, Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State, or Nick Chubb, running back from Georgia, or I don't know, Darius Guiches. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, running back from LSU. At this point, give me LJ Scott from Michigan State. I don't care.
Get us our running back. That's what we need, right, baby?
Yes.
We get the win, right? We read the ship.
Yes.
Because
Super Bowl time.
I was a little concerned when every pundit on ESPN, I don't know if you saw the tweet, every pundit picked the Lions. Lions. Nobody picked Carolina. So
I mean, at this point, I think, Adrian, we'll see him this week. We'll see Adrian Peterson, the guy who always killed us on the Vikings, who's now on the Saints. He's in an awful situation there where Mark Ingram he's technically the lead back right now, and the rookie Alvin Kamara is basically outperformed both of those guys. And Adrian Peterson, it's not the type of offense for him. Trade him to the Lions, because I think he'd actually fit what we're trying to do, where we're trying to, when you see Adrian Peterson out there, we're going to run the ball. So stop Adrian Peterson. Hot take.
Awesome podcast, Jason. Always enjoy our conversation. Motor City Sports Rant drops every Tuesday, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Always enjoy the chat. This one was extra special. It'll go down as one of my favorites, coming after a victory versus the Michigan Wolverines. Go green, go white. Wolverines, stink all night. Go do what you got to do, guys.
Until next time, he's John. I'm Jason. Peace. Hit the song.
Okay, nice idiot. F you. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.